Let me see. Joaquin is that?
As far as the women wearing zits, whatever, but I don't even I don't even care about that. Like meaning in the sense to say, like, yes, do I believe that they scripturally, historically, and in Hebrew culture did they do it? No, no, they didn't whatsoever. But the issue is some things. The problem, this is the problem, man. This is where Yahweh's Holy Spirit comes in, man. And this is the dangerous part about it. This is why Satan is always going to be able to run rampant in the doctrine of Yahweh, because Paul says there's the spirit of the law, then there's the letter of the law, then there's Yahweh's Holy Spirit. Yahweh would not, like, give you a perfect example. Numbers chapter 5, right, where it talks about the woman. With her head being uncovered, having her head uncovered, in the temple. People will, before Paul even talks about, the head covering in Romans chapter 11, Hebrew women have been doing that for thousands of years. And people don't understand that everybody always wants to go to the Torah and say the letter of the law. Well, does the law say this? Does the law say that? Does the law say this? And how does it say that? And how does it say that? But they forget the culture of our people. They forget the spirit of the law. They don't really add every single thing into play when it's time to make a conclusion of what Hebrews did and what Hebrews did not do. It's a conclusion of a lot of different things. Remember in Romans chapter 7, Paul said, keep the traditions as I teach them to you.
Right.
Israelites had traditions amongst themselves that were just as much of what Yahweh wanted than anything else. There were good traditions and there were bad traditions. Here's what I'm saying. He says over in chapter 7, he didn't say keep the law, he said keep the traditions as I pass them down to you. So you just got to figure out what things that Israelites do that were traditional, cultural. Yahweh is not totally against tradition. He's not totally against those things the tradition that come out of the law. That's why you need Yahweh's Holy Spirit to guide you and lead you as far as the decision making, because I was talking to a girl earlier about 1 Corinthians chapter 11. But I don't even use 1 Corinthians chapter 11 to prove that a woman should have her head covered. That's such a weak chapter to do that, because 1 Corinthians chapter 11 is not a chapter written for Hebrew women or Hebrew men. Hebrew women and Hebrew men have already been either covering or uncovering. He's talking to the Corinthian assembly about what they needed to do to get on track, This was their process of praying and prophesying, and what they had to do for Gentiles to get on track. But Hebrew people already were doing so. Even over in John, when the woman washed Joshua with the feet, the hair of her feet. Yeah, the scripture says that she was a sinner woman. She was a sinner. So here it is. You see sinner women walked around with their hair out. Israelite women, when you look at Tertullian says that it said that it was most uncommon to see Hebrew women without a covering upon their head whatsoever. So that's why in Numbers chapter 5, when you go over to Genesis chapter 48, when it says Rebecca, she was in the field and she covered herself. Yeah, that covered herself clearly was her covering her head. So people will try to argue, well, it doesn't say cover your head, her head. Well, what was she, butt naked out there? What else would she have been covered? What else would it have been? And that's why they try to lock down things. When you look at the word there for covering herself, it goes back to her head. She wasn't out there naked. She knew when the man being out there in Genesis, she was okay amongst her maidservants whatsoever. But when a man came, she put a head covering on something over. This is in Genesis over there with Ruth with her shawl, all through Songs of Solomon. Yahweh showed clearly that women had some sense of authority placed on their head. That's why I'm a person that works in the legal field. Hold on a second.
So how does that work? Because I heard a lot of Hebrews.
Come on, man, let me over. Please let me over.
Road rage. No, let me stop. No, cause I heard it. Cause some Hebrews believe that they didn't wear their head wrapped all the time, and use Genesis 48. You know, stating that Isaac's you know
She was among a
wife.
woman does not have to have her head covered when she's just around women,
Right.
or her family.
But
she was around her servants and her maid servants.
But she was around Abraham's servant.
What?
He came and picked her up or got her, and she didn't cover it until she saw Isaac.
No, that's what she covered her head. As long as she's around her servants, you have to understand this, what servants were. The servants were a part of the family. A woman. These are people that people grew up around. There's a difference. First of all, we're in Genesis, and there's no specific law about anything in Genesis. We're just watching the custom of what women did. Mm-hmm. She was around her servants. A woman does. A woman don't have to have her head covered around her family or her maid or her manservants or man. Those are all family. Or it just has to be around men that are not of her line, her lineage, or her line. When she go out into the world, it was much different back then. They don't know what they're talking about, because look at who she was around. You're talking about family lines, servants, servitudes. You got to go back and look and see how servants were seen. They were seen like family. A woman grows up around her family without her head covered. A woman ain't doing nothing wrong when she go around her family without her head uncovered. These are people, at least her immediate family. Now I'm talking about her 4th, 5th, 6th cousin. That's something different. But they grow up seeing her without her head covered all her life whatsoever. So you're talking about a family line. They're not looking at the culture of the people. And it doesn't make a difference, because when you go to Numbers chapter 5, it clearly shows that women had their heads covered, because he says that he says, what did the head covering represent? Why is the head covering even a part of Numbers chapter 5? He says that this is what women do when they want to be tested for jealousy. So this is the law for every single woman. When you're dealing with stipulation of reiteration of law, it says this is the law, that if a man finds a woman jealous, right? Jealous, right? It says, give you a perfect example. What is one of the laws as it relates to when you get leprosy? That you got to cut off your eyebrows, cut off your beard, cut off your hair. Yeah, cut your hair. So it says cut your beard off to make sure all leprosy is out. That's in the law.
Say you unclean.
So right. So the issue is that Yahweh knew that Hebrew men had beards. So you got to understand how to read law. It says that if all Hebrew women did not wear head coverings, why in Numbers chapter 5 does it say when a man sees or questions whether his wife is been cheating on him, she shall come do this and uncover her head? That's the indication. So if all Hebrew women did not cover their heads, then why is that in the law? That don't make no sense. Doesn't make any sense, because that would show he putting in the law that every single person that runs a red light has to come and pay $25 whatsoever. It's like you got to listen to how law is written. He's that's like saying that with Muslim women, every woman that comes before her husband, whatever, shall take off her burqa in the law. That when you write the law like that, the indication is that every woman wears a burqa. You see what I'm saying? So it's the understanding that Yahweh's law when it comes to women was already written differently, how he dealt with things with them, period. But when you're talking about the law, it was clearly the custom of Israel for women to wear a covering on their head. And the covering was so important that it had to come off when her loyalty was questioned, her loyalty to her husband and her loyalty to Yahweh. If the covering was just something that a woman did time here and there when she wanted to, then what was the need for it to come off? What was the need for it? It doesn't make any sense. People don't understand how to read the law. That head covering was a big deal, because it says that if he's jealous of her, she shall take it off. because that covering shows she's under authority to Yahweh, under authority to
It's for the angels.
To her husband and the other fallen angels, and the leadership of Yahweh. So the fallen angels, they look for head covering. The angels that have not fallen, they look for that. It was a big deal, and it was such a big deal that Yahweh didn't feel like it had to be mentioned fully until Numbers chapter 5, because no Israelite debated that. Every Israelite knew that Hebrew, and you can look over there in the Middle East to this very day, with most women over there have a head covering on. That's what they did. So Yahweh didn't feel like it was necessary to go into how he deals about, and women shall do this and women shall do that, because it was such a common thing. It just came on the scene. What we were seeing, like out of reading what in Genesis 48, you don't see anything about a head covering until Numbers chapter 5. It's such a thing that women did that it was placed in a primary law. Right. It's a primary law that if a man with his wife shall uncover head, indicating that every single Hebrew man's wife wore a head covering, and if he thought that she was jealousy over her, he is to bring it from her and she is to take it off. I don't understand how people don't see that. It's so simple. It's not a difficult thing at all. It was a way of showing her authority, and so much so that that head covering represented submissiveness, right? So much so, Yahweh then tells the sons of Levi to put a covering on their head, indicating that Hebrew men clearly didn't cover their head all the time, because then why was it necessary to tell the sons of Levi to put coverings on their head, to separate them, to show a head covering represents authority and loyalty? Because why? Why does putting something on your head represent that? Why? We don't know where that comes from. Where does in the scripture say putting something on your head represents kingship and authority? We don't really understand that until Paul, where he says the woman should have power on her head, that it represents obedience. So why is it that the priest have to wear a turban? It's only the priest now, not all the Israelite men, because that turban and that head covering show that they have something over them. But only them now. There's all the other Hebrew men. It don't make sense to tell the Levites to do this, and every other Hebrew man had a turban or a something on. Then what would separate the Levites from every other Hebrew man? That's why Paul can come back and say a Hebrew man dishonors his head if he has a head covering on. Don't pray or have that on, because a religious head covering, not wearing no baseball cap, a religious head covering on. Because now you come later and you find that that Paul says that a man dishonors his head, because that's what made the Levites special, the sons of Levi. It wasn't even all the Levites. It was just Aaron and his sons that wore it. Actually, it wasn't even all the Levites. They wore these things on their head. Yahweh was establishing what a head covering represent. Did the Levites wear head coverings on their head all the time? Sure, they did. And like I said before, Paul said that the woman's hair was her glory. Mm-hmm. When Moses had the glory of Yahweh on his face, Israel put a veil on it. Mm-hmm. They put a veil on the glory. Where in the world does Paul get that a woman's hair is her glory? Don't nothing in the Torah tell you that. That's a revelation from Paul that Yahweh allowed the woman's hair to flow. Like, remember how the Shekinah went through the temple and filled the temple? Paul is saying the Shekinah flowing down and coming down and flowing through the temple, that's what a woman's hair represents. The flowing down of the Shekinah, the glory. And the glory of Yahweh was always what? Behind the veil. Behind the veil in the temple. And Moses' face was covered behind the veil. He said it's a mystery. So this is he's not just saying her glory for a reason. Every time we see the glory, only Moses can go in and see the glory. Right. Just like only her husband can go in and see the glory. Right. Yeah, the glory was behind the veil. The glory of Yahweh is behind it. Moses' face was lit with the glory of Yahweh, and they immediately put a veil behind it. Now think about it for a second. How in a veil can really cover the glory of Yahweh? How? It was to show honor, that this is a submission. It's all literally right there if you want to see it. But we got to see it like this. And a woman shall put a head covering on her head and wear it every single day of her life outside the house. And if we don't see it like that, oh, that ain't the law. That ain't the law. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? So.
Thou shalt not.
Right. Yeah. If it ain't that, you know what I'm saying? Yahweh says, do not bake or boil on the Sabbath. But we say, he didn't say microwave. He didn't say I couldn't put it on the oven. Right. He didn't say Negro. He mean don't heat no. He didn't say I couldn't take it to the sun and leave it on top of the sun.
We can do coffee. It's a Hebrews.
Right. So Israel gets so letter of the law that they get stupid. They miss what Yahweh is really trying to say. They want to be so spiritual, but everything still got to be the letter. Well, Moses and the glory of Yahweh and this and so forth, it's like that's real deep. But Yahweh writes a remuneration of law in Numbers chapter 5. That is a base law. Hebrew women covered their heads, and the head covering was so powerful that when sin was in question, she had to take it off. Just like when a police officer is in question of doing something wrong, he got to give up his badge and his gun until the law is found out that he didn't do wrong. Because that badge and gun represent him and his authority. A woman shall have authority on her head. So until he's found not guilty of whatever it is that he did, that's when he get the gun and badge back. Because the gun and badge represent he's an upholder of the law. You can't wear no gun and badge around with a question of you being a lawbreaker. So the woman is in question because her head covering represents her having an upholding of the law. And don't tell me nothing about no women only wearing in the temple. When you go back to ancient times, women didn't even come in the temple like that. They had a little small court for them. And it was outside the temple. The Hebrew men went home and taught their wives. That wasn't even a common thing like we do today, that all the women come to the temple. Was it because women had nida? That's why the scripture says, if a woman shall learn anything, that she shall learn from her husband at home. At home. A woman should come to the temple, but if she comes to the temple, if she can't make it, she got the kids, she got nida. She don't have to have the same obligation as us, because it's our job to, what she don't get when she nida or with the kids or pregnant or this, we teach her at home. So the issue is that head covering, yes, she should wear it as a sign of authority whenever she went out. Moses wore that veil around his face all the time until the glory faded away. That glory was behind the temple all the time. And yes, praying and prophesying in Romans and 1 Corinthians was solely about I always tell people, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 is an extension of Acts chapter 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 is an extension of Acts chapter 15. Remember, he said, let us not trouble the Gentiles, but with these things. Let's not trouble them. So he's telling them the things that they have to do to get into the temple. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11 is showing that a Gentile women, they at least got to come to the temple with their head covered. They at least, when they talk to you about Yahweh, they got to get their head covering. But they would learn later from Hebrew customs of the Hebrew that this will be something they would gradually do all the time. But they at least got to come to the temple when it comes, because he's talking to heathens who now are converting over, and he's not telling them right away, grow a beard, put a head covering on. He said, you got to do this. He said, stay from meat, fornication. He's giving them the basic things they need. He says that Moses has himself preached in the synagogue. So they would learn the culture over time, because it was the job of the assembly of Yahweh to baby feed these new heathens coming in. So it's not a real deep thing.
When you was talking about women don't have to go to the assembly, so
No, I didn't say they didn't have to go to the assembly. I'm saying that women spend a lot less time in the assembly as men do, because women's first obligation, Titus says their first obligation is to be wives at home. If a woman it's a Sabbath, first of all, a woman is not there a week to 14 days at a time because of Nita, right? Because of their cycle. So you got 2 weeks out of the month. A lot of times women ain't there, right? Just because of Nita, right? Then you got the time period where she's on her cycle because of giving birth to children. That's 90 days.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Hey,
I think Joaquin tried to call in.
I know, I see. I'm calling him, but he's not answering on
this.
Yeah,
I just saw him. He was sitting in front of his desk putting his fringes on.
Okay.
So I don't know. It was just me and him on the line, and you clicked off.
Oh, wow. Let me try to call the other one then. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Oh, is this one? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Hey, shalom. Oh, yeah, on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We was on the other side.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We was wondering why we couldn't. I was calling you and you was calling me. Shabbat shalom, Moray.
Hey,
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah.
Still trying to get settled.
Okay, no problem. Well, while we got you here, we was on the other side still discussing head covering.
Shabbat shalom.
Hey, shalom. Shabbat shalom there.
Shabbat shalom, Iman. How are you?
Yeah, Catriel with his family, and
Shabbat shalom,
he might
brother.
be in and out.
Hey, Shabbat shalom, Avi.
So we can go ahead and enter into
This
some.
is Yaakov.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Avi.
Hey, Shabbat shalom.
All right.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Hold on just a second. Just 1 second. What's up, man?
Shabbat shalom. You good?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, right.
Yes, brother Ari. So we can.
All right, brother. I'll give you. I'm about to eat dinner, so I'll call back in afterwards.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Shalom.
He'll get back with us after shalom after dinner. Yep. So we can go ahead and open up with prayer. If you want to lead us out, Moray, and then we can.
Actually, I would love to, but can somebody else would? Or literally, I'm just getting settled, so
Okay.
I never like to rush in y'all's presence. Hey, I'm tired, but
yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead. Father Yahweh, first of all, we want to thank you for another Sabbath that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, Father. We ask that you would be in our midst and give us understanding of your Torah. Open up our minds. Whatever the questions is, Father, we want to be better Hebrews. We want to be better servants. We want to be better children, Father. So help us, clean us, wash us, make us over again, Father, through your word, through your Torah, Father. Build us up and strengthen each and every one of us, brothers, so that we can do your will, Father, in this day and time. As the world is getting even more evil, Father, we ask that we grow more strong and holy and lifting up your name. I pray this in Yahshua's name. Atone for our sins. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So I know we was in and out of two different subjects. So we was talking about the sacred name, and we was discussing on the other end though head coverings. Okay. You know, and Catriel brought up Numbers chapter 5. You know, and when you read that whole chapter, that the whole book is a law. You know, a lot of people would like to look at verses and just pick out the verse and say this is the law, and the other parts is not really considered in there. You know, but it's Torah, you know, and that's and you know in that chapter, who was that? Isaac's wife to be, um, Rebecca, right? She covered her head, you know, and of course, you know, he was mentioning that when you're around your immediate family, a woman doesn't necessarily have to cover it, you know, at the house or, you know, but when you come out around people, you're supposed to have it covered, you know. So that was just one of the things, you know. And we discussed the Levites as well, because, you know, some men wear turbans, but that was really for the Levites, really Aaron and his sons, you know, showing their authority, because, you know, he was mentioning that what would make them different from the other Hebrews, you know, and that was like a sign of authority. Also, head covering, showing like head coverings is a sign of authority. Just like for a woman, the glory of her head, her hair is her glory. So basically the glory, that's how he was breaking it down. Of course, we would need more sources on, you know, what we bring forth to each other.
Yeah.
You know, because I know we have differences, and, you know, and I want to get Pastor Howard here too, because, you know, he, I'll be like, woo, with some of the words he used, you know, so.
Yes.
But it's all a learning experience.
Yeah, you know, wow. All right. Well, obviously, I was not a part of that conversation that you guys had earlier. And now I'm just still trying to reel it in, because it's, you know, I'm an hour behind you guys. So we just entered into Shabbat not too long ago. Okay. And I had last minute running around to do. Okay. But in there, you know, my question would be, without having all of those things in front of me, just drawing from the history I know, I would ask for a couple of things. All right, let's say that that the head covering was for the Levitical order. Let's say that is so. The question I would ask then is, where does it say that no one else can wear it? So that would be a counter point I would bring up if this was a debate or a discussion of that. The second would be is that when we look, if we start bringing culture into it, and we start seeing that if we look back to the land and people who fortunately did not lose their connection with culture, be it the Limba or whoever, there's about there's just so many places you can go with it. When you see certain tribes of people, you see that it's not uncommon for all the men to wear head coverings. Some may not, but it's not an uncommon thing to see. And even in that, if you start looking at the Igbo people and the Yoruba, but if you start looking at the Igbo specifically, especially those who have kept the culture, you'll see that the young men, all men wear them. Men under 40 tend to wear the black kufis or turbans, miters, whatever they decide to wear, and the men over that age who will be considered elders wear the red ones. So you see that across the board. Right. Now, a lot of them do associate with being from Judah, but that's just not an occurrence you just see there. You'll see it in other Bantu tribes. You'll see, and you'll see things like that. And it's not. I'm not saying everybody does it. I won't even pretend that that's the case. But it's many cases where they wear them. Now we could go even further if you start looking at. If you want to look specifically even at the Limba, looking at them in particular. Some of the men don't even wear beards, but it's not uncommon with them. You know, you may see some men who are clean shaven, some with mustaches, some wearing goatee, some got rocking the whole Moses hookup, but you'll see everything across the board. So
can I say, I kind of think you answered your own question right there. You know, like, you know, if the law says you're supposed to keep a beard and they're not You know what I'm saying? It's all in the culture. It's like what they, like the scripture says, people started doing things according to their own heart, what they felt was right. They did, and then people grew with that, and it became a culture. Just to put that out there. But we, again, we need sources. Like you said, and I heard something else about the kippah though. We talking about Levi having head wraps and stuff, but when it comes to the kippah, I heard that it was pagan. They had some type of source out there saying that it got like some pagan origins or pagan roots. I don't know how that goes in and fits with the Levitical and today.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I'm not familiar with that source.
Okay.
But I would suggest that whoever has that source, presents that source, would not only bring that source, but bring other sources to corroborate that.
Right.
Because we're going to go with Torah, things are established within the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses.
2 or 3 witnesses, right.
Because we can find one anybody to say one of anything. Yeah. And then we have to look at the context.
So many books.
So,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's like, which one do you...
I'm sorry.
No, it's like, which one do you really go with? It's so many books, so many so-called scholars, and... one person will say Yahuwah in there and have like evidence and sources where they get it from. Somebody say Yahweh, somebody say Yahweh.
Right. See, yeah, you go through all of that. Well, if you still don't be technical, I mean, even saying Yahuwah is what are you doing? Because you're putting in a language, and I'm a brother is way more versed in it than I am, but you're putting things in the alphabet that aren't there.
Okay.
To come up with Yahuwah, I mean, those extra letters. You'd be better. Me, I don't use Yahuwah. I don't say that because I don't see how it fits into the Tetragrammaton or anything. I understand Yahweh. I understand Yahweh. I don't see how. The reason I said I don't see how it fits in the Tetragrammaton because if you're dealing with that, it's either rendered YHWH or YHVH, depending on how you're dealing with it. But Yahuwah, I don't get mad at somebody who does it. I don't have a beef with anybody. But, if somebody wants to split hairs, they'd be like, well, where are you getting that from? And I know even like your Moray, Dr. Laws, he says, I cannot stand that.
I know.
it makes him bristle on the inside a little bit, he says. He's definitely not a Yahuwah guy.
I know. But I wonder, well, I ain't going to say it. I just, it's like, well, because he's sitting under somebody who says it, So I wonder, I mean, I guess we find some common ground. Like I heard one of the Hebrew brothers say, but still it's like we have to really sit and really study it together and reason together, as the scriptures say. A lot of people get upset and offended, and we shouldn't, because we all are human. We all trying to get to the same spot, even Christians trying to get to the same place, and we bash them so much, and it's like we worse than them because we know the law, and judgment is going to begin with us. So it's like we really got to do better, so it's like,
No, I'll be honest. I used to go in on Christians. I mean,
I know. Yeah, me too. When I came in, it's the zeal. It was the zeal.
You're like, I'm hungry. Time to eat some Christians. No,
no, I felt it though.
Get the fresh meat for me.
Yeah, the whole thing with me, Shibboleth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is the same word, but right. I get because each letter has its own meaning. If you put the sheen there, that's a different meaning than if you put the samech there. So, and it's my thing is this. Well, for one, it's I try to go back to the beginning of language. If I could find, I mean, because I don't even pronounce the V with the bet
Yes.
they say it becomes vet if without the what's that called, the dagesh in the middle.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of a word or sentence, something like that.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of the one character, then that means it doubles. And what I'm really looking for is language rules for stuff like that. It's like really, I believe a lot of that was added later. You know what I'm saying? It's the Masoretic texts added certain things, and honestly, I don't want to be caught dead. Adding something that needed to be added, and him wind up adding plagues to my household,
or subtracting, right?
That's
no. The book ends with that. Add this stuff. I'm gonna add this to you.
You're right.
You get these curses.
Don't want it.
Look, we already got this. You already got that one.
Don't want it. Don't want none of that stuff.
No.
That's the old what's his name? Jamie Foxx. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. But that's where I'm trying. I like to take it back to the earliest, the first, if I can find those. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I want to find something.
I've just really began in earnest. I've been learning, a bit of the language. Not comfortable speaking it at all yet, because I'm still trying to get the phonetics and the mechanics down.
Sure.
Making a fool of myself. I don't want to do that.
Right.
I even met it's funny because I was out at Lowe's earlier today. I met a Gentile woman who actually is following the way. Her husband, she's married to a black man. And the ironic part of it, just to make her story long and short, or short rather, is that she has been following the way longer than he has. And he's still waking up. And she was like, I am so surprised, my husband, because he's from the Virgin Islands, what have you. Mm-hmm. And she was saying that, there's so much he's not getting, but he's connecting to some things, because he can look at some things that were cultural that they have done over there,
right,
that match up perfectly with the Bible. Mm-hmm. So he can't deny it, but he's still trying to shake off the Sunday morning stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's what I wound up learning too about, in particular, the Jamaican culture. They because they were still calling them Jah at least. You know what I'm saying? And they were learning Hebrew. In their grade schools, they're learning Hebrew. So I'm like, what? I mean, all this stuff has been kind of hidden from us. That then, by the way, Maury, I'm a language language teacher. So
yeah, I remember.
If you need help, call. I got you.
I need help.
Yeah, me too. See, I was looking at it.
I'm super moray. No, I need help, man.
It says super moray.
I know all.
Because I was trying to look at the names in a simple format, and I kind of found myself messing up with the second name, because we say YHWH, just that's the more familiar one. So, Yod Hey is Yah.
Yes.
Wahe We. But when I got to the second name, but when I got to Yahshua's name, right, is Yod Hey Yah. Because he got the Yod Hey Wah Shin Ayin.
Right.
So it's like Yah, he still has Yah in there, but would it be Joshua? Or what do we do with that W there? Yahushua? That's why a lot of people say Yahushua. You know, because
Right.
I say
Yeah, I get
Joshua
it.
because like pronounced
Now,
like Joshua. You know, Joshua,
for me,
Joshua. You know.
I kind of default to Aramaic. I just stick with Yeshua.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I stick to that too, but my reason for it is mainly because all three of those characters that are used in the name are all semi-vowels, and so they can change their except for the first one and the last one, they can change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing with Yahshua is that the sheen means that he was that he was afflicted, and the ayin means that all eyes will see.
Yes.
Basically, and that's where I get. That's why I stick to what I have because of the
yes.
Yeah, being Yah revealing himself through the language, and I'm like, that's amazing because just Yah itself means giver of life.
Yes.
Just Yah itself. I'm like, wow, he's right. He begins to open himself up inside the language, and to me that's the most amazing thing. It's like I've never known stuff like this. This and it's revealed through the Spirit. It's revealed through His language, and the combination of the two together makes it's everything becomes concrete, and you can see because and the reason why I call them characters because I actually learned Japanese, and Japanese has characters, and each of the characters has a story basically, and this is the thing. It just I'm like, wait a minute. So since I looked at Japanese, and I started comparing Japanese and Hebrew together, and the flood is spelled out in the Japanese language as well.
There's even evidence that I haven't really dug into it. I just keep running across this bit of evidence that's saying that that some Hebrews made it over to the islands of Japan, or where the island of Japan, the islands of Japan are now. So, not really, in a place where I can really talk about it,
Right.
with a lot of authority. But some people are putting links there. Is there something there? I see where they might be going with it because they're looking at. You see some parallels in the culture.
Right.
But I haven't really studied it out, and I don't know how much work has been put out there about it yet. So
I think Joaquin was talking about a few years ago. You were saying that I believe that even in the Japanese culture, they know about Noah's Ark, in their way. So it's like,
and the flood as well.
There's a possibility, like.
It's spelled out because they're very similar to Hebrew. The Japanese, the kana is the kana. There are three three syllabaries in Japanese. There's hiragana and there's katakana, but then there's also the kanji, and the kanji in all reality are actually Chinese characters, and the Japanese absorbed those characters, and but they also have little, well, one of the syllabaries, katakana, they use for foreign words, for words that they're adding from outside of their language, and it's it's interesting watching how and the language that does that the most is English, though. It's like another connection that I have with Japan is the fact that my grandfather was stationed in Okinawa, but my mom lived there
during the war
for a few years. Yeah, during World War II. Yeah, okay. And they learned, they began to swap.
Yes.
To teach and to teach one another of one another's cultures, and one of the things that I noticed is there's a kind of old word. I don't know if James has ever heard it, but I'm sure you may have, Moe. When Samael, somebody asked him, "Oh man, would you like a little bit? Would you like some?" He said, "Yeah, just a skosh."
Yeah.
Skosh. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my family's from Arkansas, so they okay. So yeah.
Yeah, skosh, just a skosh, and then and a skosh is from Japanese. It's the word skoshi, which means just a little, tiny bit. Yeah, that's some of the I don't want to say adaptation, but they do adopt. This. That's why the American. I don't call it English anymore. It's American. I've been to England. They don't speak the same stuff that we speak at all.
Oh, wait a minute. That's
right.
No.
Man, it took me almost a month to catch up. Like, wait.
I would just go home.
Right.
Got uncomfortable.
Dedicated.
And you sit there going, "Wow, this is crazy. This is English. This is language I call myself speaking, but not really.
You bring up a point. Something you actually brought it up because I meant to bring this earlier. Because we also have to remember there's a lot of cultural transmission.
Yeah.
Like, I remember even just last night, someone was bringing out a point in a conversation. They were talking about the word L. I'll use that. I said, well, you found that with the Phoenicians and the Canaanites or what have you.
Yes,
the Hebrews adopted it. I guess they were using this as a pretext to say why you should not use El or Elohim, what have you, right? So the first thing I'm like, okay, well, I saw a couple of issues with that. I said, for one, we have to always account for cultural transmission because if people live around each other, inevitably you're going to adopt these things from each other. And on top of that, you got to remember that these people that we were naming, the people that kept naming, they all had one thing in common. They were speaking Semitic-based languages.
Right.
So it's not like you were taking some Irish guy and then putting him with some Zulus. And then, no, they have these things in common that even if they don't necessarily speak fluent each other's language, they can understand. It's the same with us being English speakers. You may not understand Spanish, but there are words that you'll see, you know what it means.
Right.
Well, okay, I know what that is right there. You may not be able to speak that language, but there are things you can pick out because there are roots there. So, so when you go that route, that's a dangerous place. Nobody's done that here. But I was using an example of how we forget about migration patterns. We forget about the cultural transmission for the third time I said that, and all these other things that go on. And then when people actually have a similar root, you have to take that into account then.
Right.
But even and I guess I'm kind of diverging because I'm thinking about even with the flood, yes, they're all around the world. Even if, all right, if you're a person who just want to use, let's say we use a civil court, you use a preponderance of evidence to prove a point. Mm-hmm. So in there, you would look around and see how much circumstantial evidence you can bring up to establish that the thing happened. Like, for instance, we can prove scientifically around the world that there was a flood.
Right.
Because you see a striation in all the soil, it looks like that across the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you find things in places where they don't belong. Like I remember maybe about 15, 20 years ago in Oklahoma, they found some metal, I think it was a hammer or something, that was in the soil. The problem is that hammer, that piece of metal is not indigenous to North America.
Right.
Oh. And they can show where it came from, over in Mesopotamia or wherever it came from. And it was showing like, well, the only way they could have got here, and especially where it was buried, that it had to come over here and get buried in the ground while in a flood situation.
Right.
And look, North America. You can look at Mesopotamia again, South America, the Canary, the Inca, the Mapuche, the Mozica, the Tupi. Let me shut up. The Sumerian, whatever. You can just go across the board, and all these people are telling you, hey, even the Irish, the world flooded.
Yeah. Everybody, yeah.
Everybody's saying it.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you need? There are somewhere between 2 and 600 flood stories, and
yes,
including the Epic of Gilgamesh. So I mean, and that's should we just have 2? The Epic and the Bible account.
Yes.
Yahweh only knows how many other people out there know this, while we have a minority of people trying to disprove it and falsely. That's that kind of makes me think of was that second Peter when he said, "There shall in the last time come scoffers."
Yeah.
You know what? No, they making stuff up.
Yeah. Now, while we're on that subject, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I'm just talking, but yeah.
No, yeah. Well, I was about to say, like, while we're on that subject, because I noticed a lot of people are rejecting the scriptures because they're tired of seeing like fossils. They want to actually see old bodies, the Abraham body. They say they found pharaohs and Egyptian bodies and mummies, but they can't find biblical people.
The answer is real simple to that. You got to look at the cultures of the people. You got to look at
how they bury.
You look at the funerary rituals of people.
Right.
When you start dealing with the Hebrews, specifically the Israelites, you'll find them with nomadic people. I mean, we even see, even in the text, why it would be hard to do that. Joseph was like, hey, when y'all leave up out of here, take my bones with you.
Right.
They were about letting all that flesh dissolve, and they would move if they did bring you up, if they took you, they took your bones and they buried them elsewhere. So no, they didn't do the stuff we do where we go out, we do the tombstone, we go in the dead trying to get mom in the ground. They didn't do all that.
Right.
Unnecessary.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. And that's then also there's the with that movement, there's also the whole thing of crossing territories as well. You get wherever you're, because I think it was Abraham when he was burying Sarah. He actually paid someone to for
the children of
out of land to be able to bury her.
The children
of the cave, if I remember correctly.
The cave of
the cave.
What was the people they called? It started with an A.
It'll
yeah.
Right. Exactly. and thing is, it's just that you know, they, I don't know, everybody who, I mean, they didn't cross everybody who was really friendly, or you know, or they like Israel. I think, did they bury his bones in Israel?
Who? Abraham?
No, Israel.
Oh, Jacob.
I think they buried him in the cave with his parents. I'm gonna look it up instead of guessing at it.
Yeah.
Thank you. He bought Abraham. He
I believe so too.
Yeah, it's in
Machpelah. His parents, yep.
Machpelah. Right, there you go. Yeah. There it is, Machpelah.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob,
all
Sarah,
same
Rebecca,
yep.
and Leah, all buried there.
Yep.
Yeah. That's right. It sure were. Yeah. Thanks, Maury. That's what I was going with that one. But yeah, that's it exactly. But that's James will tell you that's like one of my more favorite subjects, the science.
Mm-hmm.
The
sevens and the 22.
The
planets.
Not just numbers, but the science itself.
Science,
How science actually proves it, and there's this one guy. His name is Dr. Kent Hovind, and he was hitting it on the head. I was like, ooh. One of the things that he was doing was actually talking about the atmosphere of Earth before the flood
and disproving
like
evolution.
Hyperbaric chamber.
Hyperbarism was a thing. Is there were dinosaurs because of that. There were mammoths. Everything was huge, and in fact, there's a report somewhere. I have to find it, that said that they found someone that was supposedly in Noah's tomb, and the skeleton in there was 11 feet long. So
that takes us back to the Nephilim and the Raphaim.
Yeah,
all of those giant children, Anak.
But then here was my question: if Noah, Noah, of course, belonged to Yah, because he found favor in Yahweh's sight. If he was 11 feet tall, how tall were the giants?
That's a good question. The question I would ask up front is one I think we just don't have enough information to really get an answer on. Was that Noah in that cave? Because
right.
I mean, we all know I could buy a casket and put a tombstone over it. Hey, and it's saying it's you,
right?
Because
they stuck Uncle Willie in there.
They've been looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I get it.
My man,
I get that too, Moray. That's
That's a good question.
Then that's why I asked that question too. It's like okay, now if that was Noah, what size are these folk that we were calling the Nephilim? Are they I mean, because there's I forget where it is now. I forget exactly where it's recorded. It might be in the book of Jubilees. Yobelim. It says that they were 3,000 ells, which would put them at about 2.2 miles in height. That's like incredible.
A 10,000 foot tall person.
Right. It's like, that's wow. I'm just saying,
how far was the sun back then? Yeah. They've been a little bit closer to the sun. We burning up right now, like just billions away.
But then too, you know what? If the moon was closer, there would be more floods.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they wouldn't have come from out of the ground like the first. Because really, what the situation with the first flood is the fact that the water came gurgling out of the deep.
That's right.
it came busting out of the ground.
Yeah, there was no rain at that point.
Right, and everybody's not going to, because I mean, we got a lot of water in the past week here. I mean, that was a lot.
I saw the news report. I'm like, geez,
man.
Right.
It happened back in 2014 too. It happened back in 2014.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. 7 years ago. 7 years ago, about the same time. Right. I'm like, are we on the edge of Shemitah or what the heck is going on?
Yeah, we had a few of them since then too.
But there's some scientific models that put the Great Lakes underwater eventually. Well, the state of Michigan specifically.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And I see the water levels keeping on going up, then they go down a little bit. Then it rains like it rained last week, like rain is going out of style and carrying on. Sitting here like, okay, we got enough water already.
Right. And then it's like I saw an article about threats against America. The Russians want to attack, and China too, and they want to attack Hawaii. So the islands, and the scriptures talk about the islands, being, I guess, destroyed, like before the end of the world. I think it's in Revelation, talking about the islands, just being, no more or destroyed. I like the islands. As the scripture mentioned. But,
I'll tell you just in myself, Hawaii, as beautiful as it is, it's a place I've never wanted to visit because I'm keenly aware that it's sitting in a bunch of dormant volcanoes. So there's something about that just makes me say no. I remember a few years ago when that neighborhood it just got swallowed up into the lava. It's a lava pit now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember when you remember everyone was all over the news, and you saw the neighborhood slowly descending into this lava.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "Hey, you want to go to Hawaii?" I'm like, "For what?"
I ain't playing with it. Planning on it possibly if if I was accepted for my PhD studies there, because it's actually one of the better schools for linguists to go to get their PhDs. But I mean, I don't know. Yahweh may not want me to go. I mean, I'll go where he wants me to go.
Right.
Yes.
Stuff, but then he can also make it to where just like with Egypt and Israel, it get all them and not us.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not surprised though, because
that was Revelation 16 verse 20.
16:20. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even when we look at there's so much proof. I mean, I'm sure we're all familiar with the Book of Enoch. That's a prime example of, I'm not going to say anything I know we don't know. We know that the angels came down. We know the watchers came down specifically. Yeah. We see that 200 of them were in league, that they were going out and they were taking women for their wives, and they were producing these giants. Yeah. So we know that to be a case. So that's one reason we can see all that, coming into play about these giants. Even Og of Bashan, they showed his bed. I mean, this guy was huge. The king had a huge bed.
Yeah.
And then we also have to be aware of another thing. Again, that's why, as you said earlier, that it's important that I believe it's important because I'm in that vein of we need to make it our own point of going back and really getting as close to the source as we can. Mm-hmm. We need to learn the language. We need to find the earliest. Because there are earlier manuscripts than the stuff we play around with. All these,
right.
All this Latinized things. We need to go back. You go back to this, the Syriac-Sinaiticus pamphlet set. Other things you can see the Samaritan Torah. There's so many things we can go back to, and we can start reading those things, and you can just do a comparison. Even there's some good translations. Like the TS 2009, I use that one a lot. It's not perfect, but just really going back to these earliest manuscripts that we can read, you know, in English or what have you, and comparing to what we see. Because and then on top of that, knowing the characters, even if you don't speak Hebrew, it's just knowing the Aleph Bet and being able to have a working knowledge of what each of these the letters, the paleo of the letters or whatever, what they mean, and then reconstruct it. Like for instance, you see people's names. I knew this before I left the church because I started seeing a connection that people's names somehow played out in their fate and the way their lives progressed.
Yes.
It's all over the place. It's like if you know a person's name in the Bible, well, we can apply it today, but if you know a person's name in the Bible, I guarantee you that 99.99% of the time, that's the story you're going to see about that person played out in their life. That theme becomes a part of them. It is part of who they are, their destiny. This is who they are. So when I started looking into that as a Hebrew, as even in more recent times, I've been blown away. I'm looking at Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, looking at the three of them. Their names tell you exactly everything that played out with them. You see it. You see it in the story.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is deep.
Yeah.
And you see these things, and it's almost like, how is anybody missing that?
Right.
And then, I just want to make one last point. I'm gonna shut up.
No, you're good. We'll go, man.
Then we run into another situation.
Then we run into another. It's like, here it is. Hey, right. That's good.
Praise God.
We got all night and tomorrow.
Plenty of time.
Right.
And then we look at this, and another phenomenon, especially, I'm really learning. It's important that it's important that we start going back and really doing our detective work, doing our own research and drawing conclusions based on the evidence. One thing I appreciate that I'm seeing in the Hebraic community, one thing you learn right off the bat, 101. You got to disconnect from all the emotional feelings you have about, especially things dealing with the Bible or your beliefs and all of that, because a lot of that, when we were taught, were based in paganistic or non-traditional things that had nothing to do with Torah. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we feel, the butterflies and all this other stuff, you gotta let that go. Because the Hebraic world, deals with concrete. It does not deal with the abstract. Exactly. And that's the problem, because whether we know it or not, we've been heavily influenced by the Greek way of thinking, by the Western way of thinking. The Bible is incompatible to that. It's like trying to link your Apple up to an Android. These things, they're not the same. Right. So that's why even love, we don't understand what love means. When we understand love, we do understand it from this point of view. Oh, I just feel so wonderful and kind. We describe all of these abstracts that nobody can touch, feel, or perceive. There's no measurement for it. So we understand it through that lens. Now, here's the problem. Now, when we look at the Hebraic way of looking at love, it is divorced from those feelings. Right. Love isn't it. We can go to Havai and all of that, but when it boils down to it, when he tells you plainly, if you love me, keep my commandments. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. Love is a directed, intentional effort to do X, Y, and Z. I wish I will do you well. I will consciously choose to do the thing that needs to be done. I will treat you as if you're me. I will do for you the things that I would do for myself, and it's a conscious act. Right. Now, of course, you'll learn to feel things for people and all that. I'm not saying it's not there, but love is not based on these abstracts. But that's why our divorce rate is through the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
I love you today. I don't love you no more. Yeah, you fine. But then after you have 4 of my babies, that big old booty starting, it's got all these stretch marks and dents and dimples. Yeah. And are you growing another butt behind that? What's going on with you? What's that? And all of a sudden, you're looking at her crazy. Like, hey, I'm out of love. because your love was not based on an intentional thing. It was based on emotions. It was based on these abstract ideals of what you consider. So then when they no longer meet that paradigm, they don't hold that anymore. We fell out of love.
Right.
But looking at it from this point too, say for instance, two people are in a relationship. One person cheats on the other person, and they catch them and be like, "You don't love me." Is that the case that they don't love them, or some people forgive and forget? Where does love come in then? Or is it just straight up divorce?
Well, you can love someone and not be with them.
Because, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments. So it's like, what if you break them?
Well, right. Well, so then sometimes even, I didn't mean to cut you off, Maury. Were you about to say something?
Oh, no. I was just thinking about, I wasn't saying anything. I was just imagining the thing he was talking about. I'm like, oh, that sounds so cute. You get a wife, you cheat on her, let her come on in the house and see that. Yeah. I think it's time for a divorce. Yeah.
Right.
She probably will get the gun first. It's time for your death.
Wait. Right. I was going to say, not a black woman. You ain't a black woman.
No. Man, I'm so hurt. I'm disappointed in you.
Right.
They ain't gonna sing like Tyler Perry shows either.
Right.
Start singing.
Man, you better, But look, speaking of Tyler Perry, she gonna treat you like Medea. You got the gun in the purse, ready for you.
Terrible.
She ready for a Negro to act up, right? But seriously,
people down here in Texas, they keep the gun on the rack.
Yeah, they do.
Nobody gave you no purse.
Right. The gun is in the truck, or it's close.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's real close. They even got purses with that are holsters. So
right, exactly. I know. Yeah, Texas. Been there, seen that. It was like, yeah.
So is Yahweh really like that?
Y'all just itching for some football and shooting. That's what Texas is about.
Seems that way. Seems that way. Yeah, since I've been here, it's been interesting. It's been a learning experience.
Yeah, because I did a little stint out kind of out west too.
Okay.
Kind of Colorado as well. Colorado was it's crazy because and this is not to incite lust, but the population it's basically about 10-1. Women, it was back then. There's 10 women to every one man, basically.
Wow, that's a name for paradise.
Yeah, it was crazy right there. It was like, man, that's a player's paradise, really. That's a player's paradise there. That thing is, they might not all turn one another down either. That was another thing going in with Colorado. Then I made it to California for a bit and learned. Well, I had some of my martial arts teaching from Master Dan, Dan Inosanto.
Sound familiar. What style do you practice?
Jeet Kune.
Okay.
Yeah, Bruce Lee's art. Bruce Lee's art. I'm a second degree black. He taught me. Well, Bruce taught him. He taught me.
Okay.
I was one of his students.
You got a legend in the room.
I see.
Well, him, not me. Him, not me. I'm
close
I've
to
had
it, brother.
to use it, but it's but it was also in the hands of Yah, because I was in the war too. I was in Desert Storm.
Okay.
Now I actually had to use that in order to survive, and Actually, it was Yah. You know the scripture that says that he teaches my hands to war.
Yes,
that was literally the case. Because it was two guys that were like, well, I wouldn't consider them giants, but they were real tall. They just came out. It just seemed like they came out of nowhere and attacked me. It was two guys. One dude had a bayonet. What do you? Bayonet?
We went old school. He medieval with it.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you need a bayonet? This is.
I use OG weapons.
I was like, what is this going on around here? Where did you get a gun with a bayonet from?
Ain't that British? Like the British was using it.
It's kind of it's almost like having a thing that you can charge a guy with if you run out of bullets.
Right, with the
you can charge him. You can impale him with the thing.
Was he using a Kalashnikov?
Huh?
Was he using a Kalashnikov?
Yeah.
That explains it.
It's old. It's like honestly, I would have been surprised if he could shoot the thing. That's how old it looked. But first thing, you see it's a gun, okay, I gotta
move
figure
quick.
out what I'm gonna do, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna get shot? Is he gonna try to shoot me? Am I gonna be able to get out of the way in time? But then, y'all jumped in and put things together pretty quick. And so I got those guys are no longer with us. I'll just put it that way.
Did you do the Matrix?
No, they didn't shoot.
Oh,
well, they didn't shoot.
They didn't even have time to shoot. Wow.
And one dude had a blade like this.
Oh, okay.
Like what y'all? They were coming to. It was just a big attack, just seemingly out of nowhere. Matter of fact, I was kind of off. What's the expression we at least used to use? Paying the water bill.
Yeah.
And here they come. I'm like, for real. Oh man, now I got to hurry up and get myself together while these.
You went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden you end up in a battle of the bastards out of the Game of Thrones. Right. You don't know what's going on.
Straight up, that was exactly what that was. I was like, and my pieces were I actually set them a ways off from me, so I didn't have my sidearm nor my M16. Like, how did that happen? What is, it's devil. That's like a devil.
Yeah.
That's what that was. He just and he almost got me. I mean, straight up, almost got me. But
and it's interesting you bring it up because so many people, it's amazing, and I mean we understand that in Christianity where they teach you it's even a misteaching of one of the world laws that says thou shalt not kill. There's a difference between kill and murder.
Yeah.
And and when you're in a war situation, look, when he sent Israel out to fight, he didn't send them out to play tag. You're it with those people.
Right.
That was not it.
Right.
He was saying wipe them out.
Right. Them weren't paint guns and stuff.
Yeah.
That they're dealing with. With no game. It was just this is real life or death. That's part of the thing why David couldn't build the house.
Build blood on his hands.
God's house because he had too much blood on his hands.
Yeah.
That I mean, and that's why, because he, what was the song that all the ladies used to sing? Saul has killed his thousands. David his 10,000s.
Yeah. That made him jealous, so I was mad about that.
That's a good way to get into it with the king.
Right. Yeah. Make it no better.
Exactly.
I was saying
about the king. What?
Right.
We're quick to get in our feelings. What?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Big time.
He dissing you. I mean, and then that's what I saw it as a spiritual thing, and I saw it from from a street level situation, I'm like, I see why Saul had a problem with him, you know, on two levels. Because when, you know, the people exalting him, hold on, I'm the king.
Right.
Yeah, he's cool and all, but he out here getting work done. So, you know, it's easy for Hasatan to come in and manipulate.
Right.
But one point I wanted to bring up was that another issue, and really I've started back down this road, and really honestly, just this week, you know, I would say, I know it was the Most High put it on me, was about even going back and studying the word. I mean, really going back and really looking at these root words, look at etymology, you know, you can, you know, go back, get an interlinear and read. Because even, I mean, we look at stuff like, for instance, I remember the other day, one thing that stood out to me. I keep seeing inconsistencies. Like, for instance, Job 2:9. Everybody knows what that says. Well, we think we know. And what we all hear is it says, in the synapse, where we see, and Job is talking with his wife. And in there, part of the statement she's making is, why don't you just, in the KJV, it'll say, curse God and die. Now, on the surface, you're like, dang, man, his wife is wicked, man. And I've seen preachers get up, they want to run with it. You know, they dogging her out. You know, they going back. They slinging her, Eve, anything that's not a man, they going in on it. All right, here's the problem. They don't understand what was going on. For one, they haven't done their own word search. Because the KJV, just like in other places, they screwed it up. This was a mistranslation. I honestly think it had to be intentional. Now, for what reasons, I don't know. Now, all right, look at it. All right, it says, all right, they said curse God and die. All right, but here's the problem: when you see that word curse, when you look at interlinear, you get the word Barak. You don't get Quilale, Kulala. You would know better than I would. The word for curse. That is the word curse, right? Right. But there, she is saying to him, she did not say curse God and die. She said, why don't you, if anything, the church would be like, why don't you Barak Elohim and die? If we were going to quote that correctly. So she is saying, if you know, she's saying, bless Elohim and then die. Your life is all messed up. Things are going wrong. It's all turned upside down. His wife was like, hey, why don't you just bless the Most High and get up out of here? Then he says, you son going to the foolish one. Now in there, the people take it and they're like, well, dang, you know, his wife was rough, but she did not say that. They put somebody put something in that wasn't there. Somebody lying. And then we can even see, you look up scribal notes. And I don't have them in front of me. I know somebody even made mention of them, but I was familiar with it. You can see certain scribal notes where, you know, you see people doing translations back in the day where you can see where they were rubbing things out and redoing it. Like, for instance, the height of Goliath changes depending on what era of word you're reading about the battle between him and David. Because most of us are familiar with him being like 9.9 feet or 9 feet and whatever. But then you look at some of the earlier works, some of the earlier versions of the Tanakh that especially dealing with that story, he's still tall. He still comes in roughly around 7 feet or something of that sort. So again, that's a problem we have. The problem is that a lot of times we cannot trust the very people who enslaved and subjugated us to give us the truth in this one area when they lied in every other. They take your identity from you. They strip your culture from you. They beat, rob, rape you, do whatever they got to do to break you away from your own identity. They erase your memory, and then they bastardize the book that is a cultural book. It's not a religious text. It's a book from the Hebrew people, by the Hebrew people, for them, your book, and then give it back to you. They make you adopt a religion that is foreign to the text, foreign to the culture, that is foreign to most things, period.
Yeah.
And then you absorb this, and you expect that they tell you the truth in this one area when they've lied in every other one.
Right.
Something wrong. That line of logic doesn't flow.
Right. Yeah. Because that's and you know, I'm not completely throwing the Bible away, but
no, I don't throw the Bible away at all.
There's right. No, I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm saying it for my reasons because you know, with me, how I do, and maybe I'm wrong for doing things this way, but sometimes I'm like, you know what? Well, if someone does me wrong, like my phone people just did. Yeah, they, my phone gets messed up. I do the insurance thing, and they keep sending me these phones where I can't operate them. And so now I have to throw shade and be like, you know what? Y'all are no good. Y'all are. I can't deal with you guys. But really, and sometimes that winds up being the way that and it's not that I just feel some kind of way. It's like, when you're doing business though, you want to deal with someone that's on a professional level at least.
Yes.
Someone who has not just their own agenda in mind, but that they're not they want the best outcome possible with their customers or clients. And these people, they just like wow, y'all just treating me like a redheaded stepchild with freckles, man. What was that? What is that all about? It's similarly, that's sometimes how I feel about a lot of things. But then I look at the world too. For instance, one of and James knows this too. Just one of my favorite kind of movies is the superheroes.
Oh yeah.
And I figured out why. I wound up being drawn to one of the characters that Stan Lee used to do in the comics back when I used to collect them was, he had this class of people that used to look over humankind and certain books. They were called What Ifs.
Yeah.
And but see, he had those people who were just exactly. That was exactly what their names were.
Yeah, like Uatu the Watcher. He was the narrator of that book.
Right. Exactly. Uatu. Yep. There you go.
He lives on the moon and he sees everything.
Yep. Exactly. They were the Watchers. That was them. I'm sitting there going, Stan Lee. No, Stan Lee done read the Book of Enoch and you know what I'm saying? They done, man, these folk done been raised on it or something, because he comes out like this and just he made it a cultural craze for somebody like me who just it's comics, it's like
he and Jack Kirby, they pulled from a lot of much esoteric knowledge to create these characters. Sometimes they would create characters. Sometimes it was an adoption of characters that exist.
Right.
But for you to know those things, you probably would have had to come up in Kabbalah or something else.
Right.
Because they were pulling as the DJs would say, deep in the crates.
Wow.
Yeah.
To come up with this information.
Yeah.
One person that blows me away is Dr. Strange, because in there, he uses the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak and all of these other things.
Yeah.
You get the Dark Dimension. Oh, it's a ton of things there.
Yeah.
And you start like you just mentioned, you start digging into into actual information, and all this esoteric stuff starts popping up, these characters start popping up.
Right.
Like, hold on, that's dude from the comics.
Right.
No, the dude, this is him, and he stuck him in a comic book.
Right. Exactly.
I got a question and a comment though. Going back to Job chapter 2 verse 9.
Yes.
It was Strong's 1288, Barak. And
yes.
they actually had a couple of words here. It's like, how do we determine which one to use?
Which is it? Is it Barak or Barak?
Barak, Barek.
Okay.
It says abundantly, altogether, at all, blaspheme, bless, congratulate, curse, greatly indeed, kneel down, praise, salute, still, thank. So it's like all that's in there, but which one do we, it's like, how do they make a choice?
Job 2, right?
2 and 9, yep.
Wait a minute, which one am I in? Am I in the one? Let me look.
And it's a verb.
This one.
Barak.
Yes.
And then you was talking about the Catholic Church. I noticed too, like a lot of Hebrews would accept the Catholic Church saying that the Sabbath is not a Sunday, but Saturday. They will accept that. But the Catholic Church also mentioned that the name is Yahweh. And they got it written out in their what is it? It's like a banner they had, and they know the name. They written it out, and it's like they was trying to let people know this, but a lot of people would deny that portion of what the Catholic Church say, which is like weird, but But do you throw the whole bath, baby in the bathwater? Yeah. So.
Yeah, both. Yeah. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. No, well. See, I don't know, dealing with them Catholics, because I dealt with them for a year of school myself. They,
pretty tricky.
Yeah, that was another one. When I graduated, my undergrad is from Madonna University, so I had to take it's mandatory. You take some theological classes there, or you can't graduate.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a thing of, that was my freshman year in high school. We had to have religion, like that kind of opened my eye. But then, see, the Bible studies weren't the problem. Problem was all the other stuff they did throughout the day. Like for instance, out of nowhere, we have to do 10 Hail Marys. What? Hail Mary? I thought Mary was a person. Didn't she die? And how are you calling a human the mother of God? As they say.
I think we have a term, co-redemptrix or something. They use. Yeah.
Yeah, this tripped me out. I left. I am kind of glad that I left there when I did. After my freshman year, because I was a little bit confused. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, guy on the wait a minute, y'all ever see Dr. Doolittle Part 2 with Archie the Bear? Yeah. I'm confused. But that was, just off on the side note, that was like the funniest of the, that was like one of my more favorite funny movies. That was hilarious. Yeah. Archie the Bear was hilarious. But back on point, just it's
the dog was pretty funny too, though.
Oh! That's
when he got hit and started playing like he was dead.
Was funny. That was what's his name? He's a Neil. What's his face? He's funny. Yeah, he's funny as well. Yeah, he and then they had what's his name? Steve Hahn, Do the Bear. That was he was hilarious. He said, "Go say first thing we're gonna do is get you out there swimming." He said, "Oh no, not this bear." So they gonna say, there's new inventions called the boat. Mm-hmm. You're gonna teach me how to swim.
Dang, that's funny.
Oh man, that movie was hilarious to me.
Yeah, I think it's called Catechism of the Catholic Church.
Catechism, right?
Yeah.
It's written by Patricia Bill Gruitz, one of them. Well, no, that's the one for the church here. I forgot. I forgot the name of that church now.
But what's the name of the document that they had?
A catechism.
Okay.
Yeah, catechism.
One thing I'll add to when you asked a question about the word barek there you saw in the Hebrew.
12.
In the Strong's Concordance. All right. One thing I always I'm sure we're all aware. One thing I'm very aware of is Strong's is good for a few things. It's a concordance.
Okay.
Though we got to remember it's a concordance, and normally it's always dealing with words as you see them in the King James. Okay. That's one thing. It's not an actual lexicon though.
Okay.
Well, then when you step off into like one of my favorites is it's a good go-to, and I prefer the online one because the one in the book it takes a language skill set I'm not at yet. But even the one online when you start digging into the BDB lexicon, you see that in there.
I started to mention that one myself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Brown Driver Briggs.
What's it called?
Yeah, I love that one.
BDB.
Brown
Driver and Briggs.
Okay.
Cartier has one of those.
Yeah.
I've got an electronic one. I like
that one much better. Once my skill set catches up to, I even have a Bible here that I kind of I deal with a bit, but I also am aware that it helps me, but I understand that to really get fluent or be able to use it fully, my acumen has got to come up a little bit more. I recognize my deficiencies. When it comes to historical evidence and all that, I'm your guy. I'm always on top of that. But the language is that new frontier for me. Mm-hmm. But I will say this: it's like the fifth definition you'll find for Barak inside of the BDB. You find the word blessed. Okay. And then in there you'll find that. Instead of trying to talk off the top of my head,
praise.
Let me go on down here. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, boy.
Here it is. Blessed with the antithetical meaning curse, from the greeting in departing, saying adieu, to take leave of, but it's rather a blessing overdone. So it really occurs in vulgar English as well as in the Semitic cognates. Now, in there it's telling us that one way it's analyzing all of this about blessing is that it's saying that it's a curse to overbless, if that makes sense. It's like you do too much.
Right. Yeah,
so in here, then you'll find that that's the definition of blessed that you will see there in Job 2:9, because it also appears in the 5th verse.
Because I guess you can when you I guess you can get a little like comical with it, like especially when you like upset and you start blessing them like the wrong way, like or being mockery almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we all know when somebody ain't being legit.
I can see that. Yeah. Wow. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but wow, that's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Words that's something. Words is.
And you can look, and I always say this as well. It's like you can tell it's black folk doing this because sometimes we go a little bit too far with our descriptions. We exaggerate a bit.
Yep. But doing too much.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, and that's true. That means, what's that saying? You got it honestly.
Yeah.
You got it honestly. You got it from your parents, and your mama got it from her parents, and her mama got it from, you know.
The apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Right, right. It was handed down through the, what's the Hebrew expression? Lador wador. From generation to generation. Basically.
So, and I thought that myself about a few things I've read in the text over the last few years, especially after becoming awakened. I'm like, for real, anybody who's black can look at this and see this. They know this sound like their mother, their grandmother, their uncle, their crazy uncle, granddad.
Exactly.
In all the people in the Bible, I've seen aspects of people I've known in my life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big time. I see it, I'm like, wow. Like, dang, Uncle Kerm, you ain't have to do that. What's that all about? Come on, man. Because they done done something similar, and it's just like, wow, it's being replayed all over again. You can tell your focus is.
And that even that is another identifier. We I guess because of our 21st century mindset and way of thinking, we rely so much simply on, like, for instance, identifying people groups, defining who's a Hebrew and who's not by what we swab from the inside of somebody's mouth, and we put it in the centrifuge. It comes out, says, hey, this is your DNA, so this is who you are. And we run with that. Well, here's the problem. That's a brand new science in general. Now, we could deal with, using people samples from 1980 at different places, and even that's problematic. So let's not deal with that piece. Let's deal with the fact that you can prove who a person or people are by other things that has nothing to do with that science.
Right.
If I can see migration patterns, STR markers, I can look at the tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at the traditions of not only a specific people group, but the people neighboring around them. You can look at oral tradition. You can look at perhaps they even got some written things, and you can piece together who people are without the use of that.
So you could look at me and tell me where I came from. Don't say a special ed class. Don't say a special ed class.
No. It's because
I didn't mean to cut you off, Murray.
That was how we identified all the groups. Oh, and not to pick on you, James, but that's the Chandler boys. I recognize that. They do that. That's you're watching watching our behaviors behaviors and mannerisms.
Yes.
There's mannerisms are really that's even more than behaviors, because behaviors you can do consciously. Mannerisms are just things that are just part of you, that you just and yes you can pass them down, but it's a little bit more than that. It's you you lay down in the bed and you put your thumb up to your mouth when you're about to go to sleep. Yep. Don't even really realize that you're doing it. You just do it. The mannerism, all that, and then do y'all get into the discussion, family discussion and everything at your grandma's funeral, and one of her brothers say, "Oh man, she used to see with her thumb by her mouth too."
See, back in the day, I ain't used to just put my thumb in my mouth. I used to bend my finger back like this and did it, which is kind of weird. It'd be gone. Right.
So I'm just saying, it's all of our mannerisms. They're when they start happening, that that kind of becomes your that's like Yaakov, he was I guess people say a tripper upper kind of guy, but then you almost see where he got that from and stuff, because his mom cooked up a scheme to get him to be the firstborn.
Esau, yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so really, where did he get it from? Did he get it from his mother?
Uh-oh.
When I saw that, I'm like, dang, your mama off the chain. I mean, this is wild. You look at the story on the surface, you're like, that you realize Esau was your son too, right?
Right.
And you conspire with one son against the other.
That favoritism. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude,
playing favorites.
Yeah, mom ain't got no favorites. No, that obviously was not the case.
Right.
And then, I will tell you, I want to add something. It's funny, I'm not going to get to where your point. I want to add something. When you said that, it reminded me of things that once I became more knowledgeable, it helped me to understand things I had observed years ago. Like, for instance, people in general tend to they want to lump all so-called black people in one group. Everybody's the same, right? Okay, here's the thing. Like, met people from the continent, went places, wherever, and you would see people, sure, nobody's arguing about them being so-called black, brown, they got the skin or whatever, but the look of their bodies, the way they move, their physical characteristics, some of you like, hey, some that ain't me. My people don't look like that. You didn't see anything in common you had with them other than some brown skin. Mm-hmm. But then there are other people you saw who obviously they may have come from the continent. They came from places. They look like half your family. Right. They have an accent, but do you understand how they're acting? You see the things they do, their movements, their characteristics, the things they do. Again, Ham, and Shem, they may have shared a skin color, but their people were different. Yeah, they're not the same. Right. And you look at them and you see things, and then we can even go farther into. We can go right back into the Nephilim and all of these things that you may see. Especially, a lot of people believe that a lot of Nephilim descendants live in the South Sudan area because of the height of the people and just certain features and things about them that are unique to that people group that don't match others. But then the people who have the vested interest in you not knowing who you are will tell you all those are your people. Yeah. All right, here's a problem. All black people have to be the same people, right? All right. Well, then explain to me, why is it that a Scottish person isn't the same as a Lithuanian person? Right. And why the Lithuanian is not Polish? Right. And none of them are Scottish.
Man look like a German. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. That's the whole tendency to what's it called? Stereotyping. And that's something that's but then watch this too. That made me think of something as well, Maury. That we were talking about roots earlier. This one kind of, it didn't mess me up, but at the same time, it's making me think. Really, the Nephilim.
Yes.
There's a place named after them in the world. It's called Nepal.
Yes. Yes.
Nepal, Tibet. That's actually near China.
That's right. Yeah, it borders it. The Himalayan mountain.
Yeah. that stuff made me think. It's like, wow. So really, I think Hebrew really was the first language in the world, for real. Just you know, because you keep seeing snippets everywhere. Just boom, you know, they're from Nepal, Tibet, and unless you saw that Hebrew and understood that, you know, that name could just go right over your head, you know, just like a jet, just going on over your head, and you missed it completely. It was gone by the time you even realized. But yeah, that's, you know, that whole, because some of those, because and then, you know, even today they've got some of the more giant people in the world. What's his name? He just retired not too long ago from the NBA.
Shaquille O'Neal.
You know,
wait, he played down here. Yao Ming.
Oh yeah, Yao Ming.
Yao Ming. Yeah, Yao Ming. Yeah, exactly. Yao Ming, and three of the four tallest people in the world were from that area. What was her name? Tallest woman in the world. She grew to be like 8'2". She was extremely tall. Big old, and thing was, she died. I think she died before she turned 18. She was like 17 or 18. Wow. Yeah, 8'1". Can you imagine? Man, you imagine that all of that baby to carry around?
Ew.
They probably weren't getting enough oxygen too, being that tall, right? Being way up there.
Well, then the thing usually what wind up happening is this thing called acromegaly, in which there's like some kind of tumor pressing against their what do you call it? Huh?
Or like deformations too. Like
well, something that wasn't allowing them to stop growing.
Oh, right.
Because even grew tall. What's his name? Robert Wadlow. He was still growing when he died.
Andre the Giant. That's one thing that killed him.
Yeah,
the gigantism.
Yeah, exactly. Acromegaly. That stuff and then, you know, there's this. Well, no, I think he died by now. He got to be almost. I mean, he got to be 8'6". This Lithuanian guy, he is huge. Like, you know, he's standing like you know, we would do like this on a chair, stand like this. He's doing this on a car. Okay, he's doing like this. I'm like, he's that much taller than the car. Jesus, he's 3 feet taller than the car. This guy is huge, you know. But and you know, that's the, you know, but yeah, you know what, all of the, you know, 3 of the 4 latest tall people, I think his name is Bao Shishung. He's like 8'2". This
is he still alive?
I think so.
And we can even dig even farther. You know, it's hard. You know, you look at these people and you look at them. Wow, they're giants. Okay, now let's look at a lot of the stuff they're pulling up off the ground around the world.
Yeah.
I remember even I had an article, and I you know, I have to dig it up, but there was a scientific article where they did a publishing. I think it was maybe late last year. They found a burial chamber. I believe it was in Brazil or somewhere in that area of South America, where they found a man. And I think, if I remember my numbers correctly, this guy was upwards towards 10 feet tall. Ooh. So they found his skeleton, and there were some scientists who went over there. You know, here's the amazing thing about these stories, and even you can even find over here in the States. I believe around the Blue Ridge Mountains, north of Georgia. You know, they were finding things, and it's amazing how when they find these things, these stories disappear. Mm-hmm. And then but there's a common theme that goes out. You start seeing the word Smithsonian Institute pops up.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner.
Exactly. Yeah. All of a sudden, these findings are, there's nothing else about him. You know, the story seems to disappear.
Yeah.
At that point.
Exactly.
So, look, and I agree with you, man. Look, all right, we can look in Genesis 11. It tells us that we all know the story of the Tower of Babel. Before the tower,
right?
Before they were separated at the tower, they were speaking one language, one voice.
One language. Yep.
And even when we look back in Genesis 1, you start seeing words used by the Most High that the words that we see there, and they're Hebrew words to describe the Greek ordering of creation. So my in my humble layman's opinion in those situations is that evidence points back to the fact that Hebrew had to be around from the beginning. Remember, the Most High even spoke to Adam. He talked to him. Mm-hmm. We have a separate language for him that Adam forgot, and then he got a brand new language when he got kicked out the garden. If so, that is not supported by Scripture.
Mm-hmm. Right. Then also in the book of, what was that? Was that the book of Jubilees, chapter 12? It was when who was it he was speaking to? Was that Abraham? He spoke to the Yahweh spoke to the angel, and the angel spoke to him.
Yes,
as it said in the language of the beginning, Hebrew.
Yes,
that's right.
That's right.
And
my goodness, that's right.
Yeah, that right there to me, I was like, I know I'm on the right track now. Thank you, Yah. You done showed me the right way. I know I'm on the path. But yeah, that right there, just I mean, it doesn't have to be big things. A lot of times that light the way, but I mean, it might be big to you, but in the economy of everything, it's like really infinitesimal, just so small that you can't even. But to you, it helped you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I know I'm on the way.
Because that's what you needed in that moment,
right?
We have to understand the Rock knows how to deal with each and every one of us. He knows how we tick. He knows what we may pick up on that 10 other people in the room will miss. And that's okay, because the message he was delivering was to you at that moment.
Right. Exactly.
And it'll you be like, wow, that blows your mind. Somebody else like, yeah, that was cool and all. But they're not really getting the gravity of the situation, because that thing that was a morsel for them was a whole meal, a buffet food.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's it, and then that's how we because then we also get those from one another. Like I'll hear you say something, or I'll hear James say something, and funny thing is that to tell a little bit of a story. James used to stay with me for a while, and we got we really got close and cool and everything, and y'all actually started reaching me. Through him, and it was a blessing to me. And like, I got to make sure to keep this guy on the roster here.
And then he kicked me out. No, I just
let me stop. No, but seriously though,
Kung Fu Joe telling you to go, you leaving.
Right. And I ain't gonna argue with him.
But James knows I love him, and that's to me that's well. But then I never got to really thank him for that too. In the time that he was here, it really blessed me, and I'm like, wow,
thank you.
This guy chose me to be around, and actually he wound up blessing me. Watching him. Wound up giving me strength to to stand up on my two holy feet now,
right.
and to walk in the, to walk, what was it, circumspectly.
All right.
Yes.
I was thinking about the event too. What was it, Eli? And he asked somebody, I can't remember who it was, what do you see in the sky? He said a cloud about the size of a fist.
Yeah, about the size of a man, about the size of a man's hand. Yeah.
I was talking about sometimes that little thing, that little thing you need. They wanted the rain to come.
Yeah, exactly. Here a little, there a little, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
With the stammering tongue. Little stuff. It's just little because but the whole point is, I'm on the way that verse just blesses me so much. Almost brings tears to my eyes every time I think about it. So, as the heart pants after the water brook, so pants my soul after thee, oh yeah. My soul. So man. My soul gets blessed just thinking. It's just like there was a book out a few years ago called The God Chasers, and
Tommy Tenney, if I remember correctly.
Tommy Tenney, right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I might not have agreed with everything that he wrote, but that's what I find in myself. I'm a chaser. I'm a father. Yeah. I'm a chaser. I'm running. I'm out here running like a deer, trying to find the next.
Yes.
That next sweet treat. Where is it? Where is it coming from? Right. I'm smelling, I'm sniffing, I'm hunting, trying to find it. Where is it? Kind of thing. So that's the thing that's always gotten me. It's like it's for me. It's always been about studying. It's always been about reading. So, I'll sit down and I'll pick up a 400-page book and read it in 2 days. Be done and stop. Stop in the middle, fall asleep, wake up after I do prayer and be right back in the book,
And I think sorry, but I think that's what you was explaining a long time ago about Hebrew too. Like that's how it is. We don't know how to obtain all the information from one, like the translation, so we got to go to the Hebrew. It's like you seeking after Yah, almost like he hiding from you, but you got to go find him, like hide and seek type thing. Diligently seek him, as the scriptures say.
Exactly.
Like, wow.
He had me because and the way and it's a kind of the way that I explain it to like new converts is that it's that at first, you're a baby, he's holding you, he's cradling you, he's rocking you to sleep, but as you get older in him, as you begin to grow in him, he'll start playing those hiding games like peekaboo, like put your hands on your face,
right,
and you gotta reach him, pull his hands down, he go peekaboo, then when you become a toddler and you're able to walk and stuff, he'll go run and hide, but he won't really hide. He'll be like standing behind the wall.
Yes.
But his foot will be out there so you can see it. And you come toddling after his foot, like, there he is. There I come. And that's what, and that's how he continues to draw us, like that, the older that we become in him, the more seasoned we become, the more, and honestly, the more of him we want, because we haven't tasted anything that's like this. This is
taste and see
right here. So
it's a person hunger after righteousness shall be filled.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Just just running after him. That's the thing. He keeps things. He keeps little morsels for us. Then he has those bigger ones for when we get older, for when we get teeth, to be able to masticate that stuff, chew it up real good. Yep. So, but I have noticed that over the years. Right. It's like he even when we were in Christianity, he was still dealing with us.
1 Corinthians 13.
Yep. So you can clearly look back on many things that were pulled together later on. But, and I can see from them, like, okay, now I see the story. I see how you were dealing with me even then.
Right.
Because, you gave me some morsels, back to the morsel thing again, that I was able to perceive and get, but he kept me following down the rabbit trail. Whatever idiom or metaphor, whatever you want to use for that, it kept me going. And it made me keep seeking him.
Right.
And it got me to the point where I see myself now, but I'm looking back at the progression, and it got to such a point that as he revealed these things to me, I became uncomfortable with the things that they were telling me. And it wasn't that I was looking to fault find. I wasn't. It's just that, I can see where I see what he's saying, what he's showing me in his word, what he's revealing to me when I'm praying, or however, I'm reading. And what I'm seeing here jives, but what you're saying and our traditions does not jive with that. And you can't tell me just have faith in a way, because church tends to have a tendency to tell you to turn your brain off. Nobody's ever told me turn your brain off, but the way they present it, that's what they're telling you. Some things are spiritually discerned.
And just pray. Just pray for it.
Just pray. Something by faith, bro.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Bro, we walk by faith, not by sight, right?
Right.
That's tied in. Sight is tied in with the five senses.
Right.
This is a spiritual walk.
Exactly.
So that's the dumbing down, and that is the duh moment that you have. Right. And at that moment, you are choosing you're going to follow the path of the circus, going under the God spell, or you are going to follow him down the road of the path of righteousness. You will understand the Besorah in a way you hadn't. You'll understand the Tanakh. You'll understand the word. You will understand how things function in its correct place. And because you look at the word from a holistic point of view, and that little slip of paper in the middle that says Old Testament, New Testament, that's not a border to you no more. And then on top of that, you start expounding because you realize that these little 66 they gave you, for one, let's get past all the problems we can find with the issues there. You'll see issues with interpretation, with the way things are done.
Exactly.
You can. I mean, there's 1,000 things you can find wrong with the Bible as is written, but I'm not going to deal with that. What I'm talking about is the fact that, and I love doing this because so many Christians they love, especially you come from the black church. Everybody loves the KJV. You know that,
right?
That's like the gold standard of everything. Well, then my question to them has been a simple one, and I asked this way back then. Why is it that the older KJV has more books than the new? Simple. That's not a deep theological dive. That's just a simple question. Why is the math different? Why does this new version have 66? The old one had 80. Right. What's the difference? Why? What's going on here?
Right.
I don't understand this. And you know what? That was a wall nobody would want to deal with that.
Right. Exactly.
And then let's look even at that. There, if you read the preamble, and most people don't, but if you read the preamble to that, one thing I'll give the translator with the translators honesty with is that they said this. In so many words, they were saying, look, we have problems translating this. There are certain words we could not find that matched certain words we saw in the Hebrew.
Right.
Like, hey, we coming up short here.
Right. Exactly.
And they even would tell you, hey, you know, in so many words, you need to, you know, hey, go back and take a look. You know, you take your shot at it because we hit a wall. And these were supposed to be scribes, linguistic experts who were like scratching their heads like, nah, I don't know, man. That's a good question. So if the people who are translating your book are saying these things, doesn't that tell you something? That's telling me a lot. That's if the dudes who are supposed to be telling me the truth is saying we are 100% certain of what we're telling you, that tells me that what they're saying needs to be fact checked. They're telling me to do it.
Right, fact check it.
But you telling me, hey man, just accept it by faith, bro. But the guys who did the translating told me don't do that.
Got it.
Hey, I keep things simple. My question is, the thing I always say is somebody lying.
Right. Somebody telling the truth, somebody's the lie.
Yeah.
Yep, so true.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was always my thing. It's, you know, it's just like too much has been hidden for us to just simply jump to the right or to the left. You know, it's like there's some issues over here on the left that are personal. There are others that are traditional over here on the right, and somehow I gotta sew these together and make them, you know, make them mesh. And you know, it's gonna be hard because I wasn't born back in Noah's days or somebody like that, where they were alive and they heard this, you know, or you know, we were standing at Mount Horeb and, you know, actually heard Yah speak.
Right.
Yeah.
So so now that I'm a couple thousand years away from there, I gotta, you know, I have with the best, you know, with the leading of the Spirit and a careful analysis of the Word, figure out like what am I missing here? Is something not quite meshing like you know.
And then I always thought too that the angels always visited somebody for some reason back then, and they do not.
I mean, and you know, that's the thing. You know, then too, that's always been another question for me too. Like, what thing? What is? I mean, what are angels? You know what I'm saying? It's not that it's not that I doubt their existence, but what are they? You know what I'm saying? You know, are they just the beings that we imagine that had wings and flew around, or do they have more roles? You know, you know what I'm saying? How many roles do they have? How many ranks? You know, what's their, you know, hierarchy? How are they, you know?
And how was they created? Like how we was formed a certain way, they was formed a different way. So how, you know?
Right.
With creation, right?
That's always, you know, I've always had those questions, and I guess that's why stuff like what was that show? You know, all them space shows that they used to come on back in the day. Star Trek, Star Wars. You know, Lost in Space. I used to watch all that stuff. It's like, what is all of this stuff? You know, and always had all these questions.
I've always been a big sci-fi and comic book nerd. So yeah,
me too.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh my God. All of that stuff, man. You know, I have like 7 of the 9 movies of Star Wars right now.
Wow. Okay.
I got 7 of the 9. Only reason why I don't have 8 and 9 is because I don't see where to download them yet. I'm gonna find it.
I could watch Star Wars.
I thought you said because of garbage. I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, I don't have them because they're garbage."
Oh no. I want them all because I want to see the story.
Yeah, you want to follow the canon all the way from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's me. That's I watch a string of movies, not